So what already happens is wholeness already. And that's really all there is to say. This apparent happening is wholeness already. There's nothing missing from this. It's not lacking something. This hasn't lost something. And because that's the case, seemingly the case, then of course there's nowhere to get to. So we're not going to get anywhere with this meeting this morning. In fact, this meeting is completely meaningless because this is the wholeness that's longed for already. In a way, what the meeting addresses is an experience that seems to arise within this wholeness that says something is lost or missing. Something does need to change about what's happening. There is something hidden. The experience says there is something hidden, and therefore something that needs to be discovered. There's something that the experience for the individual is there's something I'm not getting, there's something I'm not seeing. There's something else, somewhere else that I need to get to in order to know that this is wholeness. And very simply, that experience is an illusion. An illusion is an experience that deceives by creating a false or misleading impression of reality. It turns out in the end, there's no actual reality, but for the individual, this is real. Because that's the experience of itself. I am real, and this is real. I am real, so everything that arises is real. I am real, so my life is real. I am real, so the journey is real. I am real, and I am separate, therefore I need to find something that's going to make this whole. And that's the dream. That's the dream story. The dream story is I am incomplete. I am missing something. This is missing something. And I can find it through a course of action or by doing something in order to find what's lost or missing. And that whole thing seems really real. But what can apparently happen is that whole illusory experience can just crumble, can just melt away, leaving only nothing being everything, leaving only this. But nothing changes with that because this is all there is already. It can't be something else. It actually can't become two. It actually can't become separated. So what can be recognized when the individual dies is that nothing ever changed about the wholeness that this is already. Nothing was ever lost. And that the whole effort to find something, the whole apparent seeking journey was absolutely futile. It was never going anywhere. It was just like a goldfish in a bowl going round and round and round. So really the meeting is about a response to that experience. The questions obviously arise out of that experience, that this isn't whole. And this is a response from nothing to that experience, which seems to be caught up in the dream of something lost, something lacking, something missing. But there's actually nothing lost, lacking, or missing in the experience that says this is lost, lacking, or missing. That's wholeness too. There's nothing that isn't wholeness. This is timelessly itself. There's no knowing that this is timeless. There's no knowing that this is itself. It just simply is that way. There's no way to know that because there's nothing to grasp onto this. It's completely ungraspable. What you long for is completely beyond the mind. It's completely beyond whatever's thought about this, whatever's felt about this, whatever's imagined about this, whatever's believed about this. Yet at the same time, it is all of those things too. And that's how it seemingly hides. It seemingly hides by being everything already. It's too obvious. It's too simple for the seeker. The seeker's caught in an apparent experience of what's next. And the whole time it's caught up in the seeking journey of what's next, it misses what is. The expectation for the seeker is there's going to be some extraordinary awakening happening. That's what it hopes for. But it's hopeless. The seeker hoping to find awakening, hoping to find liberation, hoping to find enlightenment is completely hopeless because liberation never goes anywhere. What you long for has never left you. There is no you. And there is no separation. So we can talk about that if you like. It's not important. It doesn't mean anything. We can talk about that, or we can talk about the weather. That's fine. It's all arising as wholeness. Questions of wholeness, asking, how do I find wholeness?
It's astounding how wholeness can appear as unwholeness, as separation.
Yeah, but that's because it's limitless. It's unconditionally free. So it can appear to be an experience that this isn't free. That's how free it is.
Wish it was a little less free.
Yeah. I see what you did there. Very good. Yeah. It really doesn't matter what arises or what appears, even shockingly for the seeker or shockingly for the individual, even if it's appearing as an experience of separation, as a sense, as an illusory sense to be someone. Even if it's appearing as that, that's what's longful. That's completely unacceptable to the seeker. It's completely unacceptable to the individual. Wholeness is the dustman arriving and forgetting to put your bins out.
You forgot to put your bins out?
No, well, actually, they all go into one big kind of wheelie bin, but I've got one in the kitchen that I forgot to take out, but it doesn't matter.
You know, I find for me, there is really a particular unique kind of, and I call it energy in this kind of meetings. And it's like whatever was previously going on, like worries or whatever, it's like shut down the moment. Like in this example, you start to even open up the Zoom. It's
yeah,
and it's like that's like this kind of, it's a bit of a story, but like that kind of energy is somehow, it's like falling asleep at night, the same kind of break, having a break from something, but I don't know even how to put it. Yeah, and it touches, it's quite touching in a way. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous, isn't it? It's just yeah. But it's always like that. That's not. It's not just in the meeting. It's always that.
I hear you, and that's like what, like, yeah. I hear this, and it's like not for me. I'm just honest, not for me. Always like, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really just not about feeling a particular way at all, or any kind of way of being. You know, it may be that everything's like mad. You know, at work, pressure, stress. It's all of that too. But all the time, it's still that. Because it's just the whole thing just stops. The whole psychic merry-go-round just kind of grinds to a halt. That's the story, of course. But yeah, that whole kind of there's nothing like a bit of neuroticism to get you going in the morning. It's just none of that. That's just, it just it's just what already happens. It's just stunning. I mean, just yeah. But not special. And it's not exclusive.
Neil, did you see Gabriel's question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I didn't. It says, hey Neil, can't talk, a bit noisy here. I have some curiosity regarding your view on Jesus, his message. Do you see it as a non-dual message, or he was a teacher? My impression is he was a teacher, but I can't say that I sort of know a lot about what he was teaching. And my impression really sort of all what then became a religion, I guess, is all about a way of being. So my impression is that Jesus was teaching a way of being, which kind of gives the impression that there's a right way of being and a wrong way of being. But I think at the heart of his teaching, it was love. But how can you teach love? Why would there be a need to teach love? Unconditional love. You can't possibly teach what is already.
Neil,
No.
would you speak about not knowing?
Well, it's not that there's someone not knowing, it's that there is, all there is unknowing. And I think there can be a miscomprehension that the message, don't know what else to call it other than the message really, or the communication is about sort of being in this place of unknowing, or being in a kind of a mystery of some kind. It kind of seems like that from the perspective of the individual, that what's being talked about is unknowable. But I think that can become a position for a person. It can just be a person who's had a realization that this is unknowable or can't be known. That's actually not the suggestion. It's that it's unknowing already, which means there is no one who can know that this is unknowable. I don't know is just another position, or I don't know is just another form of knowing. It's a knowing that this is unknowable. No one knows that this is unknowable, and no one knows that this is knowable. That's unknowing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Anita. I muted your microphone. I thought
Yeah, I
you
waited too long.
Okay. Did you have a question?
Would you say there is no difference between authentic or not authentic?
Authentic and not authentic?
Yeah.
In what way? In what sense? An authentic message?
No,
Authentic communication?
more authentic behavior.
Authentic behavior? Well,
You can also ask, yeah, what does it mean? But
who would be being authentic? I think that's just a concept that would arise in the dualistic world for the individual, about being authentic or about not being authentic. There's just what apparently happens. So there's really no authentic or not authentic about it. It's just what happens.
Yes. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Anita.
Hey Neil.
Hello. There's that, Dimitri.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You mentioned, I think in the last meeting, that there was a moment when you haven't like had a glimpse or something like that, was in some like in between stage, and you said that you were sort of like saying out loud, like, I stop, like I don't want this, like I don't want, I want to die or something like that. What was it like frightening, or why?
Well, in the story here, there was a sort of a falling away, but I hadn't quite died. There was still something trying to sort of grasp on to what seemed to be happening. So there was still something in the story, really, of something seeming to fall away. And yes, in the same way that sometimes there can be a glimpse. Some people will have a glimpse and just say, no one has the glimpse, of course, but there can be a coming back and then a report that, oh, wow, it was just amazing and it was all unconditional love. And sure, great. That's how that glimpse seemed to be there. Sometimes with a glimpse, there can be a coming back and being absolutely terrified, because there can be a kind of a flavor of the glimpse left behind for the individual. And what the individual fears most is unknowing, or it fears losing control, which is unknowing. It fears not being in control. So as there was this kind of falling away here, and I can only put it in the context of a story, because it's not something that actually happens along a timeline. It's not an actual event, but it seemed as though the sense of something being here in the body was just completely gone. This was just completely empty, but there was still something, there was still a sort of a mental energy trying to sort of still kind of having an experience with this kind of what's sometimes called meaning and being. And yeah, it really did feel like there was something free falling. In the end, it's just free fall, but no one knows that, because there's no one left in the end to experience this as being a free fall of some kind.
Was there any sense of nostalgia or something like that in that period?
I wouldn't say nostalgia. Almost. I mean, it's really just indescribable. Yeah, something. It's just a profound obviousness in a way. But it's not a nostalgia for something that was lost that suddenly come back. It's a nostalgia for what was always here, or you know, it's a nostalgia for this, just as it is naturally, which for the individual seems to be lost. And it's just in that sense, a revealing of the whole sense of loss as being completely dreamt. And that the individual who feels themselves to be lost is an illusion.
And then this kind of fear, or like trying to figure it out, is also just a reflection of the same illusion that I am here, or that I am free falling, or whatever.
A reflection of the same illusion that I am free falling. In a way, I mean, again, it's really just indescribable. But yeah, I would say that there seemed to be a kind of a oscillating between just a profound unconditional love to a sort of a sudden sense of need to know it, to try and either hold on to it, or to try and hold on to it, or to try and, I don't know, can't think of the word at the moment. But that, yeah, it felt like a need to try and grasp it. There was something left trying to grasp it, and that created a kind of a dissonance for a while, but in the end that just died. There was just no way back. I'd been mortally wounded. It took a little while to bleed out, but that's all a story.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Just looking at the question that was typed into the chat about Jesus's message and whether it was a non-dual message or not. I think non-duality has just become trendy. I think it's just become a trend, and I I can't help thinking that a lot of people who are perhaps talking, who are just sort of speakers about general life help, coaching, something like that, have started sort of adding non-duality as a term into their sort of discussions or teachings and that kind of thing. I know that there are certain kind of Christian contemplative practices. I saw recently that are now sort of talking about non-duality and where to find non-duality in the Bible, and where to find, you know, how does non-duality relate to Christianity, and it's the thing that Jim calls applied non-duality. It's thinking that non-duality is actually something which can be incorporated into what they're talking about, something that can be added to something else. That's quite funny. Many speakers claim that Jesus' message is non-dual. Yeah. Mm.
I was always wondering, but why then is reported that Jesus said at the end, like, "Why, Father, did you leave me?" He like uttered that phrase. I don't know the English term. So who is left? Like that was always like something where I felt like, how, like, who is left? Like, who's left by whom? Like, something was always off for me with this guy.
Yeah.
Well, on that level, yeah.
Well, there is just no "why did you leave? Why did you leave me?" Sometimes people ask, do you miss being a person, or did you have any, I can't remember the word now, but was there any sort of grieving for the loss of Neil? And it, well, no, it just wasn't here. It never leaves. So to use the terms in that quote, it's like the Father never leaves the Son. You know, it's just so there wouldn't be a "why did you leave me? Why hast thou forsaken me?" It hasn't. But of course, the problem with all of that, and this is nothing to do with the message really, the problem with all of that is we only have an interpretation. If there even was a Jesus, we only have an interpretation of what he may or may not have said. And it would have been a group of individuals who would have heard what he was talking about and speaking about, and they would have put it into a context of some kind. And where that does apply to the communication or to the message is never heard. The clear non-dual message is never heard. It's always turned into a story of some kind to make it fit into the personal story that's happening there. It's never heard. Sometimes to the point of where the listener will actually think you're talking about something else entirely. like being more conscious or more present or something like that. Okay, well, I told you we weren't going to get anywhere. Thank you, everyone.